The last thing I remembered was the glint of my own kitchen knife, the one I used to chop vegetables for my daughter's lunch. It was buried deep in my stomach. The first thing I heard in my second life was my mother-in-law Judith talking about salvation. Marin, look at this, she said, her voice raspy with an excitement that always made my skin crawl. Rhonda recommended this specialist, a genius. He has this divine medicine. I blinked, the phantom pain in my abdomen so real it made me gasp. I was on my own couch in my own condo. The afternoon sun was streaming through the window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. Alive, I was alive. Judith shoved her phone in my face. On the screen was a gaudy advertisement for a vial of shimmering liquid, a miracle cure that can prevent cancer. She crowed, $150,000 isn't expensive for that, is it? And since you can't give us a son, she continued, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, you should at least contribute something to protect our family's sacred bloodline. I knew this day, I knew this conversation. This was the day the nightmare began. In my first life I knew it was a scam. I refused. I pleaded with her, with my husband Gavin, to see reason, but Judith was a force of nature, a hurricane of feudal beliefs in a modern world. You barren woman, she had shrieked, her face contorted. You want to extinguish the Lynch family line. I might as well be dead. She had made our lives a living hell, and Gavin, my gentle, kind Gavin, had eventually buckled under the pressure. Honey, he had said, his eyes pleading, just to get her to stop. For the sake of harmony, let's just sell the condo and give her the money. She's old, she doesn't have many years left. Let's just consider it an act of filial piety, harmony. Those words were poison. My refusal had sealed my fate. When my nephew Jaden was later diagnosed with liver cancer, a result of his own debauched lifestyle, they all blamed me. His parents, Brody and Cheryl, their faces twisted with grief and rage, backed me into my own kitchen. If you had just sold the condo back then, Brody had snarled, his breath hot with whiskey, my son would have had money, a better life, he wouldn't be dying. They believed their own insanity. They believed I was the one who had killed their precious golden boy, and with the same knife I used to cut my daughter's sandwiches, they made me pay. Now, as I stared at Judith's triumphant face, the phantom pain in my gut was replaced by a cold, sharp clarity. I was back, and this time, harmony was the last thing on my mind. This time I was going to give them exactly what they wanted, and it would lead them straight to hell. Oh, Judith, I said, my voice carefully calibrated to sound weary and accommodating. A miracle cure? It sounds incredible. I saw a flicker of surprise in her eyes. She had come armed for a battle, and I had just lowered my shield. My brother-in-law, Brody, and his wife, Cheryl, stood by the doorway, pretending to be indifferent. They were vultures waiting for the kill. Their son, Jaden, a hulking 16-year-old, was already raiding my fridge like a starved wolf. Incredible is an understatement. Judith puffed up, sensing an easy victory. This is about securing the future of our bloodline. Jaden is the vessel. We must protect him. The vessel, that's what their insane little cult, the Covenant of the Seed, called him, the chosen one destined to lead their lineage to glory. My daughter, Felicity, in their eyes, was a genetic dead end. Well, Mom, that's just terrible timing, I said, sighing dramatically. I leaned back into the plush cushions of the couch, a stage for my performance. The thing is, I've already sold the condo. The words hung in the air, electric. Judith's jaw dropped. Brody and Cheryl froze, their masks of indifference shattering. What? Judith's voice cracked, a shriek piercing the quiet afternoon. You wasteful shrew, a perfectly good home, and you just sold it? Your home? I asked, raising a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. My voice was laced with a sweetness that was pure acid. This condo was a wedding gift from my parents. Judith, the deed has always been in my name alone. Legally, it's my prenuptial property, my asset to manage. I haven't wasted a single penny of your family's money. I let the legal terms land like hammer blows. She was momentarily stunned, but her programming was too deep. She reverted to her default setting. Emotional terrorism. I don't care about the law, she wailed, clutching her chest. You married into our family. What's yours is ours. You couldn't produce a son, so you owe us. You owe Jaden this medicine. I almost laughed. The audacity was breathtaking. When Gavin and I got married, your family didn't contribute a dime, yet you've lived here rent-free on weekends, I said, my voice turning cold. You seemed quite happy with that arrangement then. It's a neat trick, isn't it? Playing the victim while living off others. Did you think if you stayed long enough, the property would just magically become yours? Are you done pretending now, Judith? I leaned forward. People can't have it both ways. If you want to play these manipulative games with me, then I'll play too. We can escalate this. We can talk about divorce. Let's see who's left with nothing. The word divorce was a silver bullet, but the real kill shot was my final sentence. And once this all comes out, I wonder, how secure will Gavin's stable, respectable job at the Pioneer County Assessor's office be? Judith's face went white, her 2 points of pride in life were having 2 sons, and her younger son having a secure government job. I had just threatened her entire life's narrative. Checkmate. From the corner of my eye, I saw Brody and Cheryl exchange a dark look. They knew this round was lost, but I wasn't finished. It was time to aim the cannon in a new direction. I let my shoulders slump, feigning defeat. I let out a long, theatrical sigh, then I smiled a sweet, poisonous smile. But Mom, I said, my tone shifting to one of earnest agreement. You're right about one thing. We absolutely have to buy that medicine. I turned my gaze to Jaden, who was now slouched at the dining table, stuffing his face with a leftover slice of cake, headphones blasting music. He was a monument to parental failure. Look at that wonderful boy, I said, my voice dripping with fake concern, the future of the Lynch bloodline. But, doesn't he look a bit pale to you? A little thin. I glanced pointedly at Brody and Cheryl. Oh, I don't know how you two manage it. Raising a child is so expensive these days. My mother-in-law, a creature of simple, predictable programming, immediately switched targets. Her concern for her precious grandson overrode everything else. She squinted at Jaden, who was inhaling the cake like a human vacuum cleaner. See, she squawked, pointing a trembling finger at Brody. I told you, you're not feeding him enough. You're always scrimping and saving. Look at my poor grandson. He's starving. It breaks my heart. Brody and Cheryl's faces soured. They knew the truth. Judith was all talk and no cash. She'd criticized their parenting from dawn till dusk but wouldn't contribute a single dollar. After Brody's business failed, they were swimming in debt. Cheryl's meager salary was all that kept kept the three of them afloat, or so they claimed. I walked over to the dining table, a predator circling its prey. Poor Jaden, I cooed, loud enough for him to hear over his music. Such a shame, his own parents won't even buy him the $150,000 medicine, they just don't care about his future at all. That got Cheryl's attention. What are you talking about, Marin? She snapped. Don't you dare imply I don't care about my son, you, an outsider, pretending you love him more than his own mother. I just smirked. Jaden, hearing his mother's shrill voice cut through his music, finally pulled off his headphones. What about my parents not buying me something? He demanded, his mouth full of cake. The fish had taken the bait. Oh, Jaden, you don't know, I said, feigning shock. Your grandmother found a miraculous supplement just for you, $150,000 a dose, and it guarantees you'll never get cancer. I painted a glorious picture of the serum's divine powers. Jaden's eyes, usually dull and listless, lit up with a greedy fire. Aunt Marin, is that for real? That amazing? Does that mean I could live forever? He looked so stupid, so utterly gullible, I had to resist the urge to pat him on the head. It is, I said, my voice full of false tragedy, but alas, your parents think it's too expensive. They refuse to buy it for you. Jaden's head whipped around to face his parents, his expression thunderous. Cheryl scrambled to control the narrative. Oh, my sweet little angel. Who said we wouldn't buy it for you? We were just trying to get your Aunt Marin to pay for it. Ah, there it was, always back to me. Jaden's gaze, now filled with menace, fixed on me. He looked like he was ready to tear me apart if I said no. Oh, Jaden, I sighed, putting a hand on my heart. You know your aunt adores you. I would if I could, but it's just terrible timing. The condo was sold 2 months ago. The money is all tied up. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen, presenting him with a photo. See? This is the transfer of title agreement. All the money from the sale has been locked into a long-term investment. Brody, Cheryl, and Judith crowded around, their eyes scanning the document, desperately searching for a lie, but they wouldn't find one. The document was real, the signature was mine, the date was 2 months ago. The only thing they didn't know was that the name of the buyer was my own mother. The sight of the legitimate legal document sent Jaden into a full-blown tantrum. I don't care, he roared, slamming his fists on the table, making the cutlery jump. If Aunt Marin has no money, then you do. You have to buy it for me. You have to. Brody and Cheryl, however, were not so easily deterred. They were like dogs with a bone. Marin, Brody said, his voice slick with false reason, that investment. Can't you pull the money out? For Jaden's health? Oh, what a shame, I replied, my face a mask.